Welcome back, listeners, to a brand new episode of the New Standard. And my name is Lance Williams, and I'm joining you after a Steelers victory. That's right, a Steelers victory. And typically, I would have my partner in crime to my left, Neil Coulong, but because of the Sunday night game and the hour that it is in Minnesota, it is pretty late for Neil. So I'm going to go solo. But again, maybe the good luck charm is me going solo or one of us going solo on Sundays, as the Steelers have now jumped to 2-1 with a very nice road victory after a short week, 23-18, against the rival Los Angeles slash Vegas slash Oakland Raiders. But before we hop into the program, want to send a big birthday shout out to the greatest Steeler of all time, Mean Joe Green, number 75, my favorite Steeler. And again, if you want to participate in the program, go to YouTube and do a search for the New Standard. Also do a search for the New Standard and Lance Williams. And also do a search, for the New Standard and Neil Coulong. Also, you can find the show however you get your podcast. Do a search for the New Standard as well and join us via podcast. Thank you for everybody who's hopped on live with us. I see the numbers going up. You guys might be trying to see the post-game press conference with Mike Tomlin. And the title of this particular program is It's Our Job to Entertain These Guys. Now, I say that, and this is to Double H's point. Why do we need to make these victories so close? Because it's entertaining, Double. Come on, Double H. It's entertaining. And it's our job or their job to entertain us guys. And you can't say that, a close game is not entertaining. One thing I do want to say, and I don't like to harp on officiating, but I thought the officiating was terrible in this game. I thought the personal foul call on Minka Fitzpatrick was very ticky-tack. I thought it was a bad call. What's up to my guy, Kenneth McNair Jr.? What's up, my brother? I thought it was a bad call. Big up to VC. Isn't it more entertaining, VC, though, when you almost have a heart attack every game? They can't make it easy. And the reason they can't make it easy, VC, is because it's never easy when you're the number one team in the AFC North. And, I think after that first game, what we witnessed, them getting their head beaten by the San Francisco 49ers, that we might not be saying that this team would be 2-1 at this point. In fact, at the start of the year, I thought they'd be 4-0. I thought they'd beat the Niners. But, they get a win next week against Houston, and quiet as kept, they're 3-1. And depending on what happens tomorrow night with the Bengals, you could have a Bengals team that's 0-3, trying to get their first win. And I think what we saw from the Cleveland Browns and the Ravens this weekend is that that Browns team is tough. Deshaun Watson played a very good game this Sunday. That Browns defense is very tough. To Mel's point, but here's the thing. Before I get to Mel's point, and I want to highlight that, is that it's very hard, and we'll jump to Mr. Tummy's comment about the 70-20, and it's very hard to win games in the National Football League. And to that point, I want to point out Mel's comment about Pickens getting lined up. And I thought that was another call that I thought was a little suspect, although it was called against Pickens. But you make that play, you probably score a touchdown on that drive. It's the little things in games that get you beat and get you victories. And big up to Felicia. What's up, Fee? Fee is getting her tickets. She got her tickets for the Houston game. I see you, Felicia. So Felicia, if they do not win the game, who gets the blame? But the one thing I think you saw when you saw this game is I think Matt Canada, and I'm not saying this because of the results. I'm saying this because of how Kenny Pickett played in the game. Kenny Pickett had some rough patches in this game, like he's had in the first two. But I think what you saw in this game, which was a little different than the first two games, is I think Matt Canada was able to find a sequence of play calls that really got Kenny Pickett into a rhythm. The touchdown throw rolling to his left, the throw that to the corner of the end zone, the Freiermuth for the touchdown. That's a in your rhythm confidence throw rolling opposite your strong hand. That's a great play right there. And I thought they got into a nice rhythm and a nice sequence of play calls in that third quarter. And I want to point out, the sequence that I'm talking about. It was a sequence where they converted first downs on each first down throw. And as I pull it up, that's the most. I think that's the best sequence of offense that you've seen from the Steelers this year. It was the Steelers drive in the third quarter at 7:15. Kenny Pickett short pass to George Pickens for 17 yards. Bang. And great throw by Kenny Pickett to Calvin Austin. Fantastic throw. You know that the corner can't run. That's one of his issues, and they really got him there. So on the first down, bang, they hit Pickens for 17. First and 10, Pittsburgh 36. Warren runs for 4 yards. Second and 6, pass short to Warren, bang, 16 yards. Short throw, great yards after the catch. Sets up a first and 10, Vegas 44. Kenny Pickett, bang, another 14 yards to Freiermuth. He's in a nice rhythm. He's playing with some confidence. They find a matchup with Freiermuth against Diablo that seems to be working. Next call, first and 10, Las Vegas 30. Bang, Najee Harris, 17-yard run. Next play, first and 10, Las Vegas 13. Bang, Freiermuth to the corner of the end zone, Kenny Pickett. Best sequence of play calls, best sequence of offensive performance from this Pittsburgh Steeler unit. And I want to see more of this. And I think when I'm looking at this Steeler offense and the Steeler offense ran 27 plays for 138 yards on first down. They averaged about 5 yards per play on first down, which is not bad. It sets you up in some second and manageables. But what's bad in those 27 plays, they had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of those plays for 0 yards. They had another 1, 2, 3, 4 plays. So 7 of those, add another 4 plays, 11 of those plays for negative yards. The reason why they had so many yards on first down was that sequence where they got the 14, 17, and the 13. I think when you look at this offense, they've got to be better on first down. I think first down is killing them because when you look on third down, they were 10. They had, I'm just looking at it real quick, 16 third down attempts. Of that, they had 7 of those attempts were third and longs, and another 4 of those were third and mids. That's a lot. That is very difficult on an offense to be successful when it is consistently in third and mid or longer. And the reason why you're in third and mid or longer is because you've got to do better on first down. And I think as they do better on first down, you will see this offense improve. In fact, in the first quarter on first down, they had a play of 5 yards, 4 yards, and they had 3 consecutive plays of 0 yards, and they had 1 for 14 and 1 for 0 very early in the second quarter. You cannot game plan and come out in the first and second quarter, and you're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Your first 7 first downs get 0 yards on 4 of them. They've got to do a little bit better than that if they want to play a little bit better and a little bit more consistent on offense. But it was good to see Kenny Pickett get it, not the best game. It was good to give Kenny Pickett, getting him into a rhythm and get him playing some good football. But let me jump to this point by Mel. And big up to Pops, big up to Mel. My dad said it at the end of the game that the player of the game was Percy Harvin. Percy Harvin has punted his fanny off the last two games. I think last game he punted 7 times for close to 300 yards. And in this game, he was also very good as well. He punted the ball 6 times for 323 yards for an average of 53.8 for a net of 46.5. That punt he did at the end of the game was very critical in setting up the much maligned Levi Wallace to get his second interception, who I thought played pretty well. And big up the Steeler freak. Sorry, Presley, not Percy. Excuse me. I apologize. My great grandfather's name was Percy. And so that's why I say Percy instead of Presley. 27 Sin City, Noah K. You guys are correct. It is Presley, not Percy. Although me calling him Percy is a sign of endearment. And big up to Steelers freak. Lance is throwing those analytics at us. He knows his numbers. But to be a successful offense, you've got to limit your third downs. And you've got to be a little more explosive, a little more consistent on first down. And thank you, 27 City. You good, big bro. You good, big bro. Thank you. Thank you. So if I call him Percy this year, hopefully I won't have to mention the punter's name too often this year, because that's one thing you do notice is that the Steelers still are punting a lot. I mean, they punted 14 times in the last 2 games. I mean, that's a lot of punts, but we are seeing some improvement. As a team, they ran for 100 yards. They ran it 31 times for 105 yards. Najee ran it 19 times for 65. Jalen Warren 8 times for 29 yards. Between the two, they averaged about 3.5 yards a carry. Not great. However, it's an improvement. It's baby steps. In terms of their run defense, the Raiders only ran it 19 times for 69. Much improved, as opposed to you compare how this run defense played against the Browns and the concern of this run defense now that Cameron Hayward is out. But you go to Kenny Pickett's numbers, 16 to 28, 235, 108.5 passer rating, no interceptions, threw the 2 touchdowns. This is getting back to the Kenny that we saw in preseason. And I'm glad Kenny had this bounce back game because this is a long season. Confidence can ebb and flow, but it was nice seeing Kenny play some solid football and be a major component of the Steelers getting this victory. In terms of pass defense, Jimmy Garoppolo threw it 44 times, 28 completions, 324 yards. I think a lot of that was due to the amount of attempts, was sacked 4 times, threw 3 picks, only had a rating of 72.5. And in the pregame, when we broke down this game, me and Neil, my rhyme or my Nipsey Russellism that I used to try to break down the game was, if you want to have a nice day, you've got to stop Deontay. Well, he was targeted 20 times, had 13 receptions for 172. 2 touchdowns and a long of 32. I can't necessarily say they stopped Deontay, but they did enough. I mean, Devontae, and again, I'm messing up names. It's Devontae, not Deontay. Hey, man, I'm sorry. Those syllables and those verbs, they all mix together. I'm going to just call him Mr. Adams. Because when you have a game where you get 13 receptions for 172 yards and 2 touchdowns, I'm going to just call you Mr. Adams. Mr. Adams did his thing. But they limited the damage. They pretty much put this game into the hands of Devontae Adams, and they kind of dared Jimmy Garoppolo to beat him. I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo is not a bad quarterback, but Jimmy Garoppolo is a trailer. I mean, he's a trailer. I mean, he gets pulled along. He needs superior playmakers for them to win. And so that's what it is. Jimmy's going to get you but so far. Um, and he's going to need his guys to take him over the promised land. And they weren't able to do it, although Devontae Adams, Mr. Adams, played an excellent ball game and had some great numbers. I think what else stood out was the 6 targets to George Pickens. I would like to see George Pickens get more targets. Robinson got 4 targets, had 4 catches, 24 yards. Freiermuth had 4 targets, had 3 catches. I'd like to see Freiermuth and Pickens get more targets. I'd like to see Pickens' number of targets around 9 to 10, but he had a good game, 4 catches, 75 yards, very good yards after catch, 18.8 yards per catch average. I think Calvin Austin has warranted more targets as well, got targeted 6 times, 2 receptions. Of course, he had the long reception of 72 yards for the touchdown. Big game by him. Got 2 passing touchdowns out of the passing game. So I think what we saw out of this offense is that it's building. It's building. This is going to be a slow build. But I think if you take a look at this offense tonight, and you got a little something there. You know, the offense was 6 of 15 on third down, 40%. That's solid. The offense got 333 net yards. That's solid for them. We're not talking about Miami, who put a 70-piece. Can you get, is there such thing as a 7-piece chicken dinner with a biscuit and some coleslaw and some lemonade? They went to Kentucky Fried Chicken or Popeyes and ordered a 7-piece. I didn't know you could get a 7-piece. I didn't realize in a pro football game you could get beat by 50 and score 20. That anyway, it's okay. Let me not get on that. But you look at the Steelers, they average 5.6 yards per play. That's not great. But for them, and we have to talk about in context of them, that's not great, but it's better. They're building this offense. And there were reports that Matt Canada was going to do some more exclusive work with Kenny Pickens. Kenny Pickett, why am I saying that? That's going to be the hardest thing for me this year. Pickens and Pickens. I just called him Kenny Pickens, but it's Kenny Pickett. But if Pickett can pick Pickens, then we can pick up some wins. Anyway, I just try to throw that rhyme out of Peter Piper picked pepper, but rock rhymes. Humpty Dumpty fell down. That's his hard time. Sometimes I always have to take it to hip hop. But a 7-piece special with swag sauce. Yes, you're right, Melvin. I should just say KP and GP. That's almost like a rap group. KP and GP. Hoo-ha! I always got to throw hip-hop into it. Big up Grayson with the 7-piece special. Steeler Freak said the Miami head coach was called lunch money in high school. He is taking out his frustration on the big kids now. That's cold. They called him lunch money because they took his lunch money. I mean, he's a weird looking guy, but yeah. And to Mr. Tummy, it's tricky to rock a rhyme. To rock a rhyme, that's right on time. It's tricky. Here we go. Anyway, I probably could have quoted every Run DMC lyric from back in the day. I had Run DMC posters, everything on my wall back in the day. But when you look at it, yards per play, and you're looking at the Steelers, you always have to look at the Steelers stats in context of them, right? Not in the framework of teams that are really good offensively. I mean, the Steelers, because we're talking about yards per play, right? And the Steelers average a little over 5. So when you look at yards per play, as you can guess, Miami's number 1 in the National Football League at 7.3, followed by Minnesota at 6.3, San Francisco at 6.0, Detroit at 5.9, and Kansas City at 5.8. Now, for the Steelers in this game, to average what they did per play, 5.6, that is very good for them. That is what you want to see. That's what you're seeing, that the offense is on the uptick. Now, if they could get the first down offense better, then we're cooking with gas. If you can eliminate the negative plays and the no yardage plays on first down, and if you could run it a bit better on first down, then you're cooking with gas. Because the thing that stands out in this particular game by the Steelers is the 7.9 yards per pass play, the average gain. That is something you can work with. That is absolutely something you can work with. They've got to, I think, address pass protection. I think Kenny was under a lot of duress. They got to get that right. But I think you saw in this game, on a short week, traveling out to Vegas in a week where the offense was much maligned and fairly ripped, you saw that they put together a cohesive plan. And in spots in this game, they got very good execution to win this game. In terms of time of possession, it was about even, 30.03 seconds to 29 minutes and 57 seconds. So it was about even there. Another thing that you would like to see go up for the Steelers is red zone efficiency. They were 1 of 1, but you want more red zone attempts. I mean, there was a game, I forget who played today. Might have been Buffalo. I can't remember who it was. And they had 6 red zone trips in the game. Now, 6 red zone trips in a game is a tremendous amount, but you've got to start getting more attempts than one. So what I want to see, and one thing I want to point out, and, I wish I had Neil on the show. The Steelers started going to duo exclusively in the run game. Duo meaning you're getting 2 offensive linemen setting a double team block on a guy on the inside. Probably your 3 technique, your 2-eye guy. Somewhere along the line of scrimmage, you're getting a duo block. You're getting a double team block. And they started going to a lot of duo, and they started getting rid of some of the outside zone stuff. And that looked like it was starting to work a little bit more and better in the second half. But I mean, after that start in that first game, I mean, I think a lot of us were ready to jump off. Was ready to jump off the boat. No, Steelers freak, you were the backup singer for the 2 Live crew. Hence the fact you have freak in your name. Yes, I mean you but like Mel said, first place in the division with a lot of meat on the bone. A ton of meat on the bone. I mean, a ton of meat on the bone. I mean, there's so much meat on the bone when you look at this Steeler team. There's leftovers. This is a team that's 2-1 that is averaging 4.3 yards per play, which is 30th in the National Football League. So when you come out, and that's largely due to the first and second games, but when you come out and you have a ball game on the road, and I know it's the Raiders, but it's still NFL opponent, and you go out and average 5.6, it's on the uptick. And I know we don't like Matt Canada, Maple Matt. Solid game by Maple Matt. Got Kenny Pickett into a rhythm, into a comfort zone, and Kenny looked confident. Kenny looked confident in this game. Had some adversity early, but he looked confident throughout. It's a 4-quarter game, and he stuck to it. And I think, again, as a sequence that I pointed out in the third quarter, I think Matt Canada got to a successful sequence of plays. Hopefully they can start putting that together a little bit more. On a defensive side of football, it's kind of a bend not break game. They let Mr. Adams, DA, do his thing, but nobody else really heard him. And they really did a great job of choking off the run game. And I have to look at the all 22 in the next couple of days, but it looked like they were a lot more gap sound. Their gap integrity was a lot better. And, it looked like they could possibly survive, without Cam Hayward. There's a guy I want to point out outside of TJ Watt who was fantastic once again. TJ Watt has got to be one of the best defensive ball players in the league. That's easy, if not the best. TJ Watt played another fantastic game. 2 tackles, 2 combined sacks, 2 tackles for losses, 3 quarterback hits. But I want to point out the Rook. Benton played very well in this game. He is very disruptive. I've seen him use that swim move over and over to collect his first sack. Another rookie I want to point out, we know Calvin Austin had the big play and the big catch to score the touchdown. But Peasy Jr., I thought Peasy Jr. was solid as well, because late in that game, if the Raiders score a touchdown, they could get a 2-point conversion and tie the game. They put Joey Porter Jr. in one-on-one coverage to the boundary against Devontae Adams. And he held up. That's tough. And that's confidence that your coaching staff has in you, or hubris, or I guess, but he held up. And that's only good. Because I think what you want, and the optimum thing you can get out of this secondaries, is the sooner he can start, the sooner you can start limiting. And big up to Patrick Peterson, adding on to his Hall of Fame resume with another interception. I think you can limit his snaps and play him in specialized positions. But I think the team is progressing nicely. I think the defense is solid enough to keep them in games to where, if they're not playing an elite team like the 49ers, I think there's an opportunity, particularly coming up with this Houston Texans game, where they can play defense well enough to have Canada and Pickett find something in a game like that against the Houston Texans. I'm very encouraged by what I saw. And let me jump into some of your comments, because there's a lot of comments out there. Robert Cotting, big up to you. Levi Wallace steps up. Ollie Howard Species. Yes, I like Benton. Benton is playing his butt off. And Grayson, I think you're right. 95 is a stud. He's already a stud. But I think Steelers Freak, I think, and this is where I got to get on you, Freak. And the Freaks do come out at night. You can't be this spoiled, Freak. Freak said, call me impatient, but I want to win against a tier 1 team. Freak, what if they had lost this game? I mean, you would have killed them. Had they lost this game. And wins are wins. And like the headline of the last show, was, we're not gonna apologize for winning games. Win the games. Just win the games. Win and correct. Win and move to next week and continue to get better. This is a long journey. You got 14 more weeks of this. Win this game. Go on the road. Let your young quarterback, who made his 16-17 start, gain some confidence. After getting beat up and not playing well, he comes back and plays a solid game. Not the greatest, but a solid game. We don't apologize for winning. Style points don't matter. And whoever you beat, you beat. You don't get 2 wins for beating a tier 1 team. It doesn't matter. It's week 3. Tier 1 teams are all the teams that got 2 wins or 3 wins. So lump the Steelers into a tier 1 team. So don't worry about tier 1 and who you're beating, and just beat everybody. And then it ain't a problem. Right? Because if they go out and get beat by the Texans, you're going to say, why couldn't they beat a tier 3 team? So don't worry about the tier 1 or any of that. Just get wins. And yes, Benton is looking good. And so what did Mr. Tummy right here? I wish they ran the ball a little bit less with Najee Harris up the middle. Yeah, of course. Najee's interesting. Najee has never run away from a hit that he didn't like. And Grayson said, Collinsworth called out the duo and said it felt like the OG Steelers. Yeah, they went to duo. You could really see it. They did a good job, I thought, in pointing it out, but you could really see duo. And if you want to try to identify duo, look at the guards. I thought Mason Cole played a decent game, had some rough spots, but Siamalu, just look at Ciamalo and see what he's doing, and you can pretty much identify Duo pretty quickly. Duo is very easy to do. It's not hard to teach. It's something that you can go back to if you need to in a pinch. Uh, I would agree with Charlie Y. I think I do want to see some more JPJ Jr. But what we're seeing though is he is showing up in those moments and playing good ball. Overall, I thought it was a great win for the Pittsburgh Steelers. A great win after a really bad week where a win felt like a loss. But to Mr. Tummy's point, before we get out of here, averaging 25 or 27 points per game this year, up from 18, is a reasonable goal in my book. That's a big jump. When we talked about that extensively on the show, I mean, going from 18 to 27 is a touchdown increase. And that's very difficult. That's very difficult to do. If this team were to jump from 18 last year to about 23, and then in a couple years after that jump to 27, great. But for them to jump to 27 a game, that would be tough. And again, Freak, you can't be indifferent about wins. I don't know what the expectation is. I don't know what the expectation is. I mean, they're getting wins. They're 2-1. It's improving. I saw improvement tonight in a win. And if you play solid football next week against a rookie quarterback in Houston, you're 3-1 at the 4-game mark. I can't complain much about that. But with that, I want to thank everybody for hopping on the program. Steelers jump to 2-1, first in the AFC North. Again, if you want to find the show, do a search for YouTube and do a search for The New Standard and Lance Williams, and you can find the program. Again, want to send a big old happy birthday to the greatest Steeler of all time, number 75, Mean Joe Green. Big up to all of you. And like Mel said, a W is a W is a W, period. And with that, we're going to conclude the show. And as always, tune in, tell a friend, and subscribe, and see you on Wednesday.